Hey Maria, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for joining the show, and been looking forward to this episode for a while. And yeah, next, pretty excited about it.
I'm excited to be here.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. It's Matchmaker Maria, and tell us who you are.
Um, uh, that's like a really broad question. Well, I guess since you mentioned Matchmaker Maria, I am a professional matchmaker. And I am the founder and head matchmaker at a Copy Match, which is a matchmaking service based in New York City, although we do have clients across the country in a variety of programs. I'm also pretty funny on Instagram and TikTok, at least according to my followers.
Love it. Yeah. All right. So obviously the word matchmaker is sort of, I guess we can understand it, but what exactly is a matchmaker? Like, I'm sure there's more
You'd be
depth to
surprised.
that.
Like, not everyone knows what a matchmaker, like when you say the words, like everyone knows what a matchmaker is. And it's funny. My husband told one of his friends when he had first started dating, like, hey, what does your girlfriend do? And he said, she's a matchmaker. And he was like, what? She sets up like soccer matches for like what, the World Cup or the Euro Cup? And he's like, what are you talking about? No, she's like a love matchmaker. But yeah, I set people up for a living. Typically my clientele orbits around people that are just too busy or too famous to swipe or at least participate in, modern dating trends. And if it's not, maybe they have time for online dating, they feel like they have already exhausted their own personal network to meet new people. So by hiring people like myself or any of my colleagues, you tap into a much bigger network of people that you would probably otherwise never had an opportunity to meet. And it's kind of like replicating, the open bar at a wedding, right? If someone is choosing to, so if you were to go to someone's, wedding, a friend's wedding, and you meet new people at the open bar, right? Either romantically or just make new friends, you already have that person in common, right? That couple that's getting married. So I would bet that most of you share in the similar values of the couple. And I think the same thing happens when people hire matchmakers. You're kind of sharing in the values of the brand or the persona that you've hired to help you with your search. So it's like as if I have invited you to my wedding and you get access to the singles table that I've put you in. And so it's just a different approach to dating that, is very ancient, but, quite modernized in 2021, of course.
Awesome. Is this something you always wanted to do?
No, it was not something I thought about. I never thought as a kid like I would be a matchmaker or at least someone in the dating industry or even just from a broad perspective. I never thought I'd be a business owner. I thought um, when I went to college and studying, and then I went and got my master's in in global affairs. I thought I would one day work in the foreign service, or maybe if I dreamed big enough and worked hard enough, I would become a diplomat. That is what I thought I would be doing in my late teens, early 20s. But it was in the beginning of grad school where I think I've always just been a really strong connector, and suddenly that came to this big crescendo in grad school where I was trying to establish my own network so I can get a job one day at the UN, and I was hosting events. Um, I don't know if you remember this app. It was called Foursquare. Do you remember
Yes.
this app?
Yeah.
A very
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I was using Foursquare to post events at its infancy, and it was around the UN. So if people wanted to just network with other people from different departments or people that were in grad school who were thinking about going into the foreign service or NGOs, they would come for drinks, once a week. And suddenly I went from meeting different people to then people saying like, hey, can you connect me with this person, to hey, can you help me ask out this person? And when it started to become strangers, it was like, okay, this is more than I'm giving it credit. And I started doing that as a side thing because I had a corporate job, but then eventually became a full-time thing. And that was 13 years ago. That's so different than that's maybe the origin story of what I am today, but that's certainly not, the precursor to my success as a business owner or even as a matchmaker. There's so many things have happened in 13 years, and the dating landscape has shifted, 4 or 5 times
Right.
as well in the 13 years. And, we've had to ride that wave each time. And when I say we, I have a team of matchmakers now,
Of
right?
course.
Where I have a
Okay.
staff, I have that whole thing going on. So it's interesting.
So let's backtrack to, because you got a single person. What is this process like? They come up to you and just say, help me out, or how does this work?
If someone wants to work with us, they are more than welcome to go to agapematch.com, which is the website. And they would enroll, they would join the database essentially.
Okay.
And there you have an option of, if you want to be a client, we would take you on as a client. If you want to be just a free member in the database, we just consider you as a potential match. There is that option too. My particular service, we will only take men as clients for matchmaking. Reason being is we did take women for 8 years, but then our coaching program called the Agape Intensive, which is our shorter version, and then the Dating Refresh, which is a 3-month version, that had a higher success rate for women versus matchmaking for women as clients. So it just made more sense. It's a pretty big investment to hire a matchmaker to take them on this, it's a way more affordable to do coaching, but this also had a higher success rate. So if a person comes to hire us, if they want to use a matchmaker and they're a woman, we'll try to see if we can work with them on a coaching perspective, which is has a higher success rate. If we can, and they're still adamant about hiring a matchmaker, we'll refer them to someone that we trust, one of our colleagues that we work closely with. But if it's a man, then we'll take them on as a client. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions of my company is that we only work with Greeks, when the reality is that, Agape Match is one of the top, God, this is going to sound so insufferable. I'm not trying to brag about myself, but we are considered one of the top matchmaking services in the country.
Sure.
And so, we're very popular among Jewish singles, Indian singles, Muslim singles, agnostic, Buddhist. So we have a pretty diverse clientele. Obviously, being a Greek matchmaker and having named my company Agape Match, we have a massive database of Greek people. So, there's always 1 or 2 or 3 clients in the stream that are Greek and are interested in dating Greek.
Right. You touched a little bit on success rate. Can you talk to me about what is the success rate and how many of them lead to long relationships or marriage?
So, at Agape Match, we consider a successful relationship anything that lasts for more than 6 months. So much of what my responsibility is as a matchmaker is getting you on a second date, right? Because,
Sure.
The first date that I'm taking what you've said into consideration. I'm taking what my professional experience is into consideration as we calibrate matches. And if that first date goes well, there will be a second date. And after that, it's on that person being a good partner, being a great listener, making people feel respected and validated and acknowledged, to get yourself into a relationship. So I want to, there's still some responsibility on the client to help themselves. All I can do is get them in front of the people that they've always wanted to meet, and vice versa, right? Like, I want to make sure that any member that's going to date my client, that's the person that they were also looking for as well. So there's a mutual match here. So in terms of, successful relationships, like I said, 6 months. And typically I would say, for men, it's about 85 to 90% success rate. So most of our clients do get into relationships while working with us. For women, it's similar for the coaching program. It ranges from 80 to 90% success rate, getting, our women, especially our dating refresh clients, into relationships over 6 months. We're all very excited about our clients. We have the luxury of being able to choose who we work with. So if it's not the right fit, I will always refer someone to someone I trust, because not everyone's a fit for us. Like, that's actually that's more of a business owner decision than a matchmaker decision, because I think as a matchmaker, you think, like, oh, I want to help everyone. And it's, at some point as a business owner, you have to realize, like, you can't help everyone. You can only help people that you can help. And that's not personal to me or them. It's just, your first match is with your matchmaker, right? So I have to make sure that I match them with the right matchmaker if I'm not the right matchmaker.
Got it. So is there a limit to the amount of clients you could take on actively looking for a relationship?
In my office where we have 4 matchmakers on staff, including myself,
Right.
we'll take up to 12 clients at any given point. I think
Okay.
right now we have 10 active clients. I say active because, we'll have clients who get into relationships and then their contract becomes inactive. So, every month we'll take about, 2 to 3 new matchmaking clients. And then coaching, that's its own thing, right? So that can range, in most months. It's, for Agape intensive, that's at least 12 a month. And in dating refresh, it'll, that ranges. It's usually about 3 or 4 months. So because it's a, bigger package.
Yeah.
So we work really hard for, there's other programs too, as well. Like we have retreats. We have a retreat in Greece coming up, and that's 30 people. We have other retreats being announced in a few weeks as well in the United States and in Mexico. So, we try to give people the opportunity to have not only just, our retreats are so much about creating camaraderie with other single people who have the same philosophy in dating as you. And that, obviously the philosophy is they subscribe to my philosophy, right?
Right.
And I mention that because one of the biggest struggles that I think single people, especially in America, have is that they don't have enough single friends who are also really interested in meeting new people and possibly getting into a relationship. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's true, right? Every time, for instance, one of the reasons why one of our retreats in Greece sold out so quickly was because it was an opportunity for people to go to Greece. Like they've always wanted to go to Greece
For sure.
and they've never had just a bunch of girlfriends to go with them. Everyone's like, oh, she's pregnant or she's married or she doesn't have time off or she can't afford it. So suddenly it's like, okay, with Agape team leadership, you're creating an opportunity for everyone to experience something and also have like those networking capabilities. Because, I think our philosophy, especially my philosophy in dating, is that every single person is an opportunity, right? You might meet a woman, like you might be a single woman and you might meet, another woman at a gala. You may, maybe you sit next to her. And I think if you are enjoying yourself, invest in that relationship because you never know. She might have a brother, she might have a coworker, she might have, a friend to introduce you to. And I think so much of what dating is not only finding those opportunities in people, but also leaning into those opportunities, like make it known, like I'm actually really interested in finding someone special. So if you, next time you're out with friends, please invite me. That way you're not asking someone to set you up, but you're asking
Right.
for more access to those networks.
Correct. Right. For sure. All right. I want to
I'm
shift to
sorry for all the
social.
monologuing. I hope it's
No,
okay.
no. This is awesome. Like I love the information and I'm sure my listeners will love to just eat this up. Um, you mentioned you're on social media, and I
Mhm.
know that you run a weekly like questionnaire in your stories where people come and they just ask you questions. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started that. Okay, so in the summer of 2018, Instagram. So I did not use Instagram stories when it was released in 2016. I didn't really
Yeah.
understand. I've never understood Snapchat. I didn't understand like why does someone need a story to expire in 24 hours? I was not
Right.
using it.
Right.
But then in 2018, in the summer of 2018, they come out with this like Q&A sticker where
Yeah.
people could ask questions. And I just like put it up and, I think like 10 people asked questions and I answered them very quickly. Like I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just like, let me just get them a quick answer and just move on about my day. And I think, I don't know if people can tell my personality so far, but I am very direct. And I just have
Sure.
a certain style of how I write. And I am also a very sex positive person. And I think this is really reflective into, how I approach um, questions when I'm trying to give people the clarity and also just the answers that their friends just don't have the courage to like give them. Right.
Right.
And so that started then. And then the next week. And so one of my friends was like, you have to do this again. I said, I'll do it again next Wednesday because it was a Wednesday. And I was like, I'll just do it next Wednesday. And the following Wednesday was like 20 questions. And I answered those questions. Then I just started like my follower count started to go up all of a sudden, like just, some people telling friends. And by October, like literally 2 months later, it was just very popular. I was receiving about 200 questions every Wednesday. So that's how Ask a Matchmaker Wednesdays was born. It's now been 3.5 years. And I receive usually about 500 questions every Wednesday. And I try to pick 30. I always try to answer about 30 questions. So I've answered
Right.
about 5,000 questions on Wednesdays. And, a lot of them have themes. Everyone always wants to know, when are we exclusive, or what,
Right.
he has not messaged me in 2 days. Is it a wash? Or, I love him, but he hasn't said to me first. So does it matter? Can I say it to him? And I give answers to these questions.
That's awesome. And then Ask a Matchmaker is also your podcast, correct?
Correct. So yeah, so that eventually also, in the beginning of the pandemic, my company made a decision that we would just give as much free dating content as possible, because
Mhm.
the beginning of the pandemic was just, I think, really tough on single people. It's like abruptly everyone stopped. My company has set up over 4,000 first dates. And suddenly last year, we don't only set up just the first dates, we also set up the second dates, right? At Agape Match. So we went from having, 3 open table platinum accounts to like suddenly not setting up dates in person. And, I realized that people needed help with their Zoom dating or, whatever. So when I was doing the questions and answers on Ask a Matchmaker, I also just like did a live show in the beginning of the pandemic, like right in the beginning, like, back in March. And my husband, I was really pregnant at the beginning of the pandemic. So my husband was just like, can you just make this a podcast? Because I don't think you can have a live show when the baby is born. And that's what happened. Ask a Matchmaker podcast came out, and it comes out every Wednesday, new episodes. And it's been really great. We've had some really amazing guests. We've had Marlo Thomas. We've had Dr. Romani, who's, the leading expert on narcissism and in relationships. We've had, the chief marketing officer of OkCupid. I love their filtering. That is my favorite dating website. If I was only searching for a particular culture. So, we've had some really great people on the podcast. And I think, it goes back to clarity for not only just single people, but people in relationships. So much of my content
Right.
is also just for people that are dating or married, because I'm married
Mhm.
and I always want to learn how to keep dating my husband. And I think a lot of my content reflects like how to keep dating the person that you see every single day,
Right. No,
for the
and
last 5,
that's
10, 20
important.
years.
That's
Yeah.
important because
It's funny. Maybe they listen to your podcast, but they might listen to your podcast, but there's like a few presbiteres that like follow me religiously, pun. And they love it because it's like, it's funny. Like they comment on everything that I post, and it's always so interesting because they're presbiteres, but they just love
right.
the content. And I love that. I love that there's like a little group of
No,
priest
that's
wives
awesome.
that are Ask a Matchmaker fans.
That's awesome. How has the pandemic changed the dating landscape, and are people still hesitant to get out and date?
Dating has had a few phases in the pandemic. So I think
Mhm.
right now we are on phase 4. The first phase, people were terrified, lockdown, home, especially in the major cities, on the East Coast, in Chicago and the West Coast, right? Then there was phase 2 where it was like, okay, Zoom dating it is. And maybe second date we'll do in the parking lot, and share a McDonald's meal, or we'll go to a park and have a 6-foot distance picnic. So people
Right.
were getting pretty creative. At Agape Match, we didn't set up anyone in phase 1. We started setting up people again in June on that phase 2. And, what we would do is the first dates would be a Zoom date. And the second date we would set up to meet for our New York clients specifically, we would have them meet at Central Park West and do at the Dakota, and then do the loop around the park together. So we set up that like 200 times in 2020. Then there was a phase 3, which was, so maybe actually in phase 5. So phase 3 was November, December of 2020. So this is right before vaccine rollout, but people were freaking freezing. So they couldn't necessarily be outdoors. So people would start getting creative with like, the glass igloos or those plastic boxes on the street
Sure.
to eat. So again, people were still Zoom dating, but now they weren't walking. They were just trying to find indoor spots to, still wearing masks. Phase 4 was vaccine rollout, and suddenly things started to get back to normal. Now, what was interesting about phase 4 was the sheer amount of people starting, I think, after the month of May, where I look, all of my clients just happen to be vaccinated. And all of the people we've set them up are vaccinated, right? And I don't even have to ask. People just tell me their vaccine status when
Right.
we're meeting them. Um, And so it was interesting to see like suddenly that became a major deal breaker. And so we would, I had released this, like I had conducted a study back in May or June, asking people like 6 months from now, so November, if someone told you they're not vaccinated, what is the chance that you would go on a date with them? And it was something like only 10% would be willing to go on a date. So it was very interesting to see like how suddenly the political landscape of America is pretty polarized, but starting the dating landscape was already becoming polarized because the political stuff had like seeped in back in 2015.
Mhm.
But then it became about like public health polarization, and it's not all one part that's not wants to be vaccinated or something. There's plenty of people from both parties that don't want to be vaccinated, but it seems like people were using that as a measure to determine someone's political viewpoint. And then I would point out to those people that like, you not being vaccinated does not tell me who you support politically. It just tells me that you cannot have fun dates safely. And not just me, but like, other online dating sites, we started to promote that, like, you just want to date safely. You want to have fun safely. And I think now, so this is phase 5, where the majority of people are vaccinated that are single. It's no longer about politics. It's can we have fun safely? And we might go into a phase 6 now with Omicron, but we're still monitoring it. I don't think look, I'm not a public health scientist. My husband is, but I'm not. So I can't tell you what Omicron's going to look like, but I don't think phase 6 is being locked down again. I think people are going to find ways to keep going out, because that was really tough on people.
For sure. Definitely.
Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No.
You're probably looking for like a 1 minute like
No,
sound
not
bite,
at
but
all.
the pandemic has been here for like 21 months.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things that have happened in dating in that period.
I'll switch off pandemic chat for a second. How has social media, Instagram, all these apps changed the dating world?
I mean, it's changed the world. Like, it's not new. Social media has been around for a really long time.
Correct. No, yeah. But, and also to add to that, how have you, I know you've already touched on this, but social media has obviously changed your audience. You're able to connect with your audience in different ways, like your Wednesday show. Or there are other ways that you connect with your, not necessarily clients, but your audience, as I'm sure you've built a following now on social media. How has that helped you connect with clients?
Yeah. But before Instagram, we had a very popular Facebook page. And before Facebook, I would host events all the time. And, Agape Match has been at the top of Google for, since 2010, I think. Okay. So, there's always been this sort of evolvement. We've again, I'm not trying to sound insufferable, but like, we've been popular for a really long time. Right. So social media is now like, Instagram is a major marketing leg for my company and for our products. But if Instagram goes down, like it did a few weeks ago, right. It doesn't 100% affect me in the way that way, because I already have an established business, and there's other ways that people hear about us. It's not just the podcast. We get lots of press. I've been featured in the New York Times, Washington Post, Oprah magazine coming up. There's a lot of things in that are always in the pipeline that help establish, brand awareness to also self-select our clients too, right? Because I don't want people that we can't necessarily not just help, but like people that are not in line with the philosophies that we might have in dating. And I think our website as a brand, it self-selects the kind of people we want to work with. And, if you were to Google matchmaking, you'll find, there's so many websites. Depending on the state that you're going to find tons of websites. And, you can open up all those websites and, you can see as a viewer, which one do you feel more comfortable with joining?
Sure.
I think most people, I would say something like 50% of people, they always join 2 services, and then they'll interview with both to see which one's the best fit, right? And that's what people should do. If you're considering hiring a matchmaker, you should sign up with 2 services and figure out which one's a better match for you. But, just like in anything, right? If you were looking for a company to, let's say clean your house, which is really personal, right? There's a certain vulnerability, and you were looking on Google, you're going to look up different websites to see, okay, which one, how fast, how much, which one has a guarantee, which one has a certificate of insurance. There's certain things that you look for, similar to like, if you were looking for someone to do your SEO for your company, you're going to look at a few digital agencies. So it's the same thing here.
Okay. This next question, I'm sure all my Greek followers are going to love. What is the best way for Greeks to navigate the Greek dating scene? Because it's obviously different. We're one community, and it feels like if you're dating a Greek dating Greek, everyone knows about it and everyone's talking about it. What is your advice for someone who may be afraid of dating within their small church community?
I don't think that people tend to date within their church community. I think they tend to date like church adjacent, I've come to realize. And not now, like this has been apparent even when I was in high school. Like I noticed that, maybe you dated someone in high school, that's just ended up who you married, but most people dated like church adjacent. Maybe it's because I grew up in New Jersey and like where all the Goyas would compete with each other every 3 days.
Yeah.
And I know New York has the same relationship with their youth groups. So I say like, sometimes you could do church adjacent, but I've always noticed that the people that are so scared of being talked about are also the people who just talk a lot. So I think there's a way to date with respecting your privacy. Like, I don't know. I've dealt with a lot of single Greek people, and yet no one knows who my clients are. We're very careful about confidentiality, and also our client is careful with their own confidentiality. You don't have to post on social media someone you've only been on 3 dates with. You don't have to tell your friends, like the friends that you don't trust. Right. I think it's important if you are dating someone, that they do meet your friends quickly. Because, you want to ask your friends, how did it look when I was around him? I want you to I want you to tell me what you think of him. I want you to tell me what you thought of me near them, because, you want your friends to be happy for you because you look happy. And I think if you're introducing someone, to a group of friends that are not necessarily in your inner circle, I think that's just for show and for ego, not necessarily like because you actually are invested in maybe pursuing something serious that could make you happy. So yeah, I don't believe in a lot of this anymore. It's
all right. Good. All right. I was watching a Greek TV show, and I don't do that often, but there was one of those morning talk shows. My mother had it on when I was at her place. And there was a caller calling in and saying, my daughter is dating this boy. They're in love. They're both happy, but I want to split them up. So this obviously goes on a lot in the Greek community from my experience, where one of the parents is not approving of the other one. Mm-hmm. How does this couple navigate the situation?
I'll tell you from personal experience, my mother-in-law did not like me. I mean, suddenly this past summer, she likes me, which is so weird because for 8 years, she did not like me. Maybe she was even that caller. I don't know. I don't know what year your mom was watching that show, but, and this just goes to show, by the way, like I'll have, I've had parents call our office asking for help with the same exact scenario. And, my husband is Greek. And, just because, the only reason my mother-in-law did not like me was because I'm not from the same village as her. That's it. That's the only reason, right?
I've gone through that.
She feels the same way. Yeah. She feels the same way about my husband's brother-in-law. So, and then suddenly, I don't know, she got over it. But what I want to say here is that sometimes people say like, oh, my boyfriend is Black, or, oh, my boyfriend is Jewish, and like my parents won't approve. And it's like, your boyfriend could be Greek. They still might not approve. So we need to take away that. What I will say though, that worked really well for my marriage, because, my husband was deeply in love with me and he respects me, is that he advocated not only for me, but for our relationship. So he set really clear, like the first summer when things got, when she expressed her dislike, he wasn't like listening to his mom. Like, I get it. Imana y monomia. I understand that. But at the same time, like, I hate to be more, but your parents are going to die one day. And at the end of the day, you have to make decisions that make you happy. And getting married is a really important decision in life, right? It affects your emotional stability, your financial outcome, your children's future. It's literally a life or death choice for some people, because if you think about, women, if they choose the wrong partner, that could kill them. So It's a really important decision to make here. And I think, my husband was great in the sense that that first summer when there was this expression from my mother-in-law, he explained to her, here's what I like about her. And you don't have to like her, but you have to respect her if you want to continue to have a relationship with me. And I thought, he advocated for me, but he also showed me that he advocated for our relationship because he included himself in this too. And it was not an ultimatum. Like, it's funny. Like, I know she did not like me for many years, and she certainly expressed that to me many times. I always took the approach of, I always would play kind of like stupid, like, it's okay that she doesn't like me. Like, I always gave her the room for some grace because I always believe that maybe one day she'll turn around. Right. And so I was never reacting. Like, I would definitely share my frustration with my husband, but not with her. Right. I would just kind of smile and nod, or I would act confused. There were a few instances where she'd like, really rub me the wrong way. And I would maybe like excuse myself from the room and go cry. But I always tried to give her the space to just like come around, because eventually she would recognize that my husband is very happy. He's not unhappy, right? So, and eventually that happened, right? And I don't know if that happens for a lot of people, and that kind of speaks to a bigger thing. But this is not a Greek issue, by the way, right? This happens in many subcultures. And listen, there are instances where a parent's child is in danger, and you will express, I do not like this person for you. You need to break up. And what I advise those people is, if you see that your child or your friend or your sibling is in a bad relationship, like that's not that you don't, you have a personality difference and you don't like them. That could be anyone, right? But you see that this person is a danger to your friend or family member, physically, emotionally, financially. What I would tell you to tell that person is, don't say, I don't like your, boyfriend or girlfriend. Say stuff like, what are your goals for the future? And tell them, have them answer those questions. And then you say, okay, and tell me more. How does your partner fulfill those goals for you? Make it them, have them express their feelings and the limits that are in the relationship versus you telling them how you feel. Because the one thing you don't want to do is put the person that you're talking to in a position where they stay in that relationship out of spite to make sure that, I'm going to prove you wrong. No, you want them to acknowledge that there is a problem.
Yeah, definitely. No, I've seen that part where they'll stay in spite just to, and it never turns out good in that when taking that approach.
Greek people stay in spite. And this is not just Greeks, Indian people, Lebanese people, Armenian, Polish, pick a subculture. There are people who stay in spite in these subcultures because they're in bad relationships, but it's because, they've been sold this idea that like, oh, I'm Greek, so you have to marry Greek. And they'll stay with someone who's not good for them because they share the same subculture. And that's not healthy. That's just, you shouldn't ever stay with someone just because they share the same ethnicity or religion as you.
Definitely. What do you like most about what you do? Or should I say, what do you love most about what you do?
I enjoy obviously being a business owner. It gives me room to like be creative. And I also enjoy mentoring other matchmakers or up and coming matchmakers, I suppose. And I really love being of service to my community. Even the matchmaking community, but also like singles and people in dating who are curious about, not only how to enter a healthy relationship, but how to make their relationships stronger and more fun. And I think that it's very rewarding to be in that position. And to also just have that trust, right? Like that's really, I feel very honored to have that kind of trust.
Definitely. And you're obviously passionate about what you do. What inspires your work ethic? Like getting up every day and just being the best version of you?
Oh, I guess like I have a few philosophies, I guess. So, when I think about, what inspires me, like I think of my time. So I don't know if you follow like Enneagram, stuff like that, but I'm an Enneagram 8. So I don't really like to like waste my time. And I think maybe that's what's coming out on social media. I like to just give people, I'm not trying to speak in theory. I'm just trying to give people the answer that they're looking for, that maybe will validate how they feel, or just give them the push to just act on, how someone else is behaving, act on, react to those things appropriately, right? Don't give excuses to people. And then of course, there's other, other people that I feel kind of inspired by in terms of their own work ethics. So, for me, one of those people is Indra Nooyi. She's the CEO of PepsiCo. And what I love about her is just like her approach to, just be, if you're the best, you can bring the rest of family. If you're the best, like people will make accommodations for you if you just do your best and be the best. And that way you can kind of like live within your freedom of like what you need to do. And I really believe in that. I also obviously really like Elvis. So, taking care of business, that, I try to like think of that, like just get it done. And I think a lot of that just revolves around like time and just setting really clear boundaries of how much is enough for me. Like, it's like funny, a few years ago, I have not really talked about this publicly, but like a few years ago, this company had come out and they were like, we want to give you $8 million to take the company national and do it like this, whatever. And I rejected it because, to do that would mean that I would now have like a massive staff and we'd have lots of clients and we'd have to answer to a board. And like, while that's fine for other people, that also meant that I would not have the flexibility that by the way, I'm not flexible. I work like 70 hours a week, but I would be answering to a board that, might not necessarily like that I want to be in Greece 1 month a year and work from there. Or, just, I like being front facing with my clients, and I might not have that opportunity if it's like hundreds of clients at once. Right. So there was just different ways to think about it. And for me, it was kind of, the question was like, how much is enough? So like, how much do I need to be happy? Like, and just think of it financially right now, right? How much do I need to be happy? What do I want for not only myself and my husband, but for my kids, right? And, for us, we came up with a number, we came up with some lifestyle goals, and then you reverse engineer it. So it's like, okay, so what do I need to do every day to get to that goal so that that's enough? So like, do I need personally to make like $2 million a year? Take home? And it's like, no, I don't really need $2 million a year. I have a different number in mind that is enough for like the goals that I want to complete in my life, and also like how I want to give back to my community.
Got it. You touched on happiness just a tad there. How do you define happiness?
I've never thought of that before. I think it's just like a mindset that people have, but everyone's, for me, it's like a completed to-do list, I guess. Okay. And I'm very extroverted. So,
do you do paper to-do lists? Paper to-do lists or digital?
I used to do paper to-do lists, and then my iPad, I have the Nebo app, and I have a to-do list there. Okay. So I use that a lot as well. So I love a completed to-do list. That's my happiness factor. And then also having quality time with like my friends and family. That's just really important to me, which has been actually my biggest struggle in the pandemic, was as an extroverted person, not having the ability to go out more and like be surrounded by people. It's still something that I struggle with because I don't have a lot of those opportunities. Because I have young children. I'm also caring for a sick mother at home. So it's when I do get that quality time with my friends, it's like a high. I get so happy.
Definitely. Just a couple questions about Greece, and then we can wrap. Where from Greece are you? Wait, I'm sorry. Where in Greece are you from?
Well, my parents, my dad was raised in Macedonia, in Ceres. And my mother, while she was born in Athens, my grandparents are my grandfather's from Alonissos, which is an island in the northern Aegean. But my mom moved to Greece my mom moved to the United States when she was 15. And, my father, it's like he left Greece after army, like I think when he was in his early 20s. He was working on the ships, so he got to travel the whole world as like a ship mechanic before he then came to America when he was like 30. So it's funny talking to my parents, because when they moved here, people would ask them like, where are you from in Greece? And both my parents would just say like Athens, because my dad moved to Athens when he was 12. And they're like, no, but like, where are you really from? And I think it's very interesting to have the Greek American experience, because here, it's like people ask you that question, like, where are you from in Greece? And, I've lived a pretty substantial time in Greece. Like I did my undergraduate degree in Athens. But I don't know. I guess it's like, to me, I think I'm more connected to like Athens. Although, my husband, he was born and raised in Crete, and now I have a major affinity to Crete. Maybe that's why my mother-in-law really likes me now. So,
What part of Crete?
so yes. My husband was raised near Iraklio, but he's from Ierapetra, and that's actually where we like to stay in the summer. I love Ierapetra. So it's really nice. It's such a sleepy little town, and it's really beautiful, and the beaches are great. So
Does that answer my next question? Where is your favorite place in Greece? Or no?
No, my favorite place in Greece is Paros. I think that's the best island. It's like, you can do whatever you
Great.
want. Like,
Yeah.
pick what you want to do. That island has everything.
Yeah, that's what I tell
And
everyone.
then,
It's got everything.
yeah. And then, my favorite, I love Athens. I love Athens so much. Like if I'm with my parea, it's going to be a great time. My husband and I, we got married in Athens, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. I like vacationing. I like going to Alonso. I like, in general visiting Greece, but my sister, she lives in Greece, and so does I have two employees that, live in Greece. So, I have a strong relationship with Greece, but I also really enjoy living in America.
I understand. All right. So 3 quick last fire off questions that I got to ask everybody. What is your favorite Greek food?
Horta.
Nice. And favorite Greek dessert?
Oh, I don't know if it's Greek. It's ekmek. It's more Turkish than it is Greek, but okay.
And then lastly, what does being Greek mean to you?
I guess I think Greek people are very proud of being Greek. So I think we like to share in our culture and our traditions. And I really appreciate that quality of being Greek.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on. Take this time to plug yourself really quickly. Where can we all find you?
Mm-hmm. So I always tell people to go to Matchmaker Maria on Instagram. So just, look up Instagram, hit Matchmaker Maria, and you can follow me there. The link in my bio can redirect you to the variety of ways that we could work together, or if you want to join my free database. All those links in the link in bio. The link in bio will take you to where you need to go if you want to interact with me off of Instagram.
Perfect. All right. Again, this was Matchmaker Maria. Maria, thank you for your time. This was an insightful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you guys again.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you guys again on the next episode. Bye, everyone.